Okay, today we are going to learn about factoring quadratics, and we're going to remember that we're going to keep everything in standard form, ax squared plus bx plus c, where a, b, and c are constants or just numbers. They can be either positive or negative. So yesterday we were factoring using algebra tiles, and today I'm going to show you the Xbox method. So we have our function, we have it in standard form. Now we're going to write what our a is. A equals 1, B equals 3, and C equals 2. And we're going to draw our attention over here to the x. In the top, we write A times C. So what is A times C? So we have 1 times 2, which is 2. And down at the bottom, we always just write our B. So B is 3. So now we have to think of some integers that multiply to give us 2, but add together to give us 3. So we're just going to list the factors of 2. So we just have 1 and 2. 1 times 2 is 2, and 1 plus 2 is 3. So we're going to add those to our x. So we have 1 and 2. And we're also going to add x's into here. Now we're going to go back over to the right side now of our screen. And we're going to write what our a term is here and our c term here. So a is just an x squared, and c is 2. Now here we're going to add our two middle terms. So we picked a 2x for this one, and we picked a 1x here. Now what we're going to do is we're going to pull out some GCS. First we're going to do this row. What is the greatest common factor for that row? And it is going to be an x. Then we're going to do the next row. So what is the greatest common factor of that? And that's just plus 1. And now we're going to work on our columns. So what is the greatest common factor of that? And then it's just an x. And then we're going to do our last column. So what is the greatest common factor of that? And it's a positive 2. So now we're going to write everything again. So just like we did with our algebra, our two factors is going to be our length and our width. So our length is x plus 2, and our width is x plus 1. And so that should be our answer, but we're always going to check our work. So we're going to double distribute it. So x times x is x squared. And then our next one is going to be x times 1. So just plus 1x. And then we're going to do 2 times x. So plus 2x. And then our last one, if we caught that mistake, it should be a 2 times 1. So plus 2. We're going to combine like terms, which would be our blue items. So we get x squared plus 3x plus 2, which is what we have when we started. So check. So our factors then are x plus 2 and x plus 1. Alright, so that should be our answer. So I'm going to box it. So our next problem, we have x squared minus 8x plus 15. So again, we're going to write our A times C. So we're going to write out A is 1, B is -8, C is 15. So 1 times 15 gives us 15. And our B down here is -8. So now we're going to list the factors of 15. So we have 1 times 15. 2 does not work evenly. We have 3 times 5. And then the only thing in between that would be 4, which does not work. So now we have to ask ourselves, we look here, we see that B is negative, but A times C is positive. So that lets us know that all our factors are negative. Because then when we multiply two negatives, we get a positive, but when we add two negative, we still say negative. So -1 plus -15 does not give us -8, so that does not work. But -3 plus -5 gives us -8, so that works. So we're going to write -5 and -3, and we're going to add our x's in here. So again, in this box, we have our A always, we have our C, and then we're going to write in here our two terms over here. So A we have as x squared. C is 15. B we have -5x. In our other B, we have -3x. So we're going to do our rows again. What does this have in common? What is the greatest common factor? We have an x. Then we're going to do our next row. What is the greatest common factor? It's going to be a -5. Then we're going to do our columns. What is the greatest common factor between x squared and -5x? We have just an x. And then we're going to do our last. What is the greatest common factor in -3x and +15? It's going to be a -3. So just like with our algebra tiles, we're going to write our length, which is x minus 3, and then our width, which is x minus 5, and we're going to double distribute to make sure we are correct. So x times x is x squared. X times -5 is -5x. And then -3 times x is -3x. And then -3 times -5 is +15. So we're going to combine our like terms. So -5x and -3 gives us -8x. And then we still have the same C and the same A. And this is the same as this, so that means we're right. So we're just going to rewrite our factors as x minus 3 and x minus 5 and box it because that's our answer. For class tomorrow, I want you to do this problem first using algebra tiles and then the Xbox method, and you should do it on the compare worksheet that I gave you in class.